Good afternoon. My name is Nick Johnson. I'm a current graduate student at the University of Texas Arlington College of Nursing. As part of our Leadership and Healthcare Systems class, we're given the opportunity to select and read a book on leadership. Now, the book I chose is How to Grow Leaders: The 7 Key Principles of Effective Leadership Development by John Adair. Now, in this presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the purpose of the book, a little bit about the author, identify some of the strengths and weaknesses I feel like the book had, who I would recommend this book for, and whether or not I think the author achieved their objectives. Now, a little bit about the author, John Adair. He was born in England in 1934. He is the author of 30 books on leadership. He was named as one of the 40 most influential people to the development of management thought and practice. He was educated at St. Paul's School, London, and served as senior lecturer in military history and leadership training advisory at the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst. He was the first director of studies at St. George's House in Windsor Castle. He is the self-proclaimed world's first professor in leadership studies at the University of Surrey. He helped found Europe's first Center for Leadership Studies at the University of Exeter, and now acts as a national and international advisor on leadership development. The book starts off by posing the question, or at least a question that was posed to John. Are there any organizations out there truly developing their leaders? And after much thought, John came to the conclusion, no, there aren't, outside of perhaps the military. John partnered with the company who posed that question to him to set up a curriculum, if you will, for developing leaders within that company. And that company very quickly turned its financial picture around and eventually became one of the most valued companies in Britain for a time. Now, the purpose of this book, I feel like, it serves as a guide for personal development and developing other leaders. The book is divided into 2 sections. The first section takes us on a journey of discovery of the nature of leadership and how it can possibly be taught. The second part then identifies 7 key principles of leadership development and answers vital questions around how we can select, train, and educate leaders in 3 pillars, that being strategic, operational, and team leadership. The 7 principles that John identifies in the books are training for leadership, the selection of leaders, line managers and the importance of leadership mentors, giving leaders a chance to lead, the education of leadership, a strategy for leadership development in detail, and then the final principle focuses on the chief executive in an organization. The target audience for this book, the author specifically identifies, is any principal strategic leader, that being the chairman or chief executive of an organization. The owners of the problem of developing leaders, that includes the individual. Professional advisors to colleagues in talent development matters, that usually is HR or your head of personnel. And finally, consultants specializing in helping organizations develop their leaders. Now, the strengths of this book, I feel John attacks each one of these principles and attacks the book in general from a very personal perspective. He uses his impressive experience in providing anecdotal situations in the introduction to each topic, which I think allows the leader or the reader to grasp hold of and very easily relate to the content. It is very specific at times. It provides a detailed roadmap on how to develop leaders. It is general enough, I think, for the novice to pick up, but it's also specific enough for any leader in charge of growing other leaders to use as a guide for that. Now, there are a few shortcomings, I think, with the book. I think in general, the author has an assumption that the reader does have either previous leadership experience or exposure. The content at times may be a little advanced for the novice leader or someone pursuing leadership, which may be a detractor. And I think at one point the author even acknowledges that leadership in general is an art, and therefore has some subjective interpretation to how this is laid out. I do believe that the author achieved their objectives in all of this, though. They do convey their purpose and deliver on that throughout the book. I would recommend this for, I think the best application is for those in organizations who are developing other leaders as opposed to perhaps a guide for oneself. Now, with all that being said, I really do want to thank you for the opportunity to read this book. It certainly will be something that I use in my career as I further my career in leadership and begin to develop other leaders in the healthcare setting. Thank you.